Hello, my name is Keith Haswell. I'm a professional astrologer with 38 years experience in the business and 25,000 clients worldwide. It's my pleasure to welcome you to my website and to my teachings. Now, you've come to my website in order to get your horoscope done, and you are to be congratulated for being a believer in astrology, because science tells us that the planets can have no impact upon us, that astrology is a load of hogwash. And what they're not taking into consideration and what their instruments can't measure is the emotional level of energy and the emotional level of consciousness, and also the mental level of energy and the mental level of consciousness. So the religions of the world are all telling us that astrology is evil and the work of the devil and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of people in the world, the vast majority, who are atheistic in their thinking, or religious in their thinking, or scientific in their thinking, and therefore don't relate to astrology. But you're relating to astrology, and you are to be congratulated. Now, astrology works because these planets are living energy forms, and they are emitting ray energies into your reality and into your consciousness. Now, these planets are having impact upon you, and impacting upon you in three main areas of your life. The three main areas that you're concerned about is your sense of security, and that comes through financial security, but also emotional and mental security, that you're not under threat from within and also from outside of yourself. And then there's the area of relationships. You want somebody to love, and you want somebody who will love you in return. And this is a major area of your life, because without relationships, whether it's relationships with people that you work with, relationships with relatives and neighbours, relationships with friends, relationships with children, relationships with loved ones, relationships with partners and spouse, relationships with business associates and so forth. These are all relationships, and your relationships are where you have an opportunity to communicate and to express your love, and also to receive love, and with the intimates in your life to be known and to be understood. These are all basic urges. And then the other one, the third one, is to do with the job. Meaningful work is a very, very important part of our sense of self-esteem and value fulfillment. Now, these planets are implementing cosmic law. They are implementing the will of the divine, what you might say. God and Goddess have got certain plans for you, and those plans are wonderful to help you to become more of who you really are through a multiplicity of lifetimes that you experience here in a space-time rule set that we know as Earth. So it's very, very exciting when you start getting into astrology more deeply, on the aspects of the spiritual side of it, and the science of meditation and reincarnation. I've written 2 books on these subjects that I'm happy to share with you in printed format, sent to you by email, or audio format with my voice and backing mystical music to take you in and out of meditation time and time again, to help you to become more of who you really are. But what we're focusing on here is your horoscope, and what I'm going to be looking at is those 3 areas of your life: your security, your relationships, and your work and employment and business and career, meaningful work. Okay, so what we have is we've got the 12 houses of the horoscope are segments of your life. And the events and conditions of your life are fitted into these 12 different categories. So you've got the first house of self-initiated efforts, you've got the second house of security and finances, the third house of communication with those close to you like relatives and neighbours, the fourth house of the home environment and the family and those who share the home environment with you, and the fifth is the segment of children and entertainments and amusements, sports, and also the sexual side of life and romance before love, romance before marriage, romance before you get serious and so forth. Then there's the sixth segment, which is health and diet, and the way to keep yourself healthy is through meaningful employment, and that fits into that category as well, the job. Then there's the seventh area, which is to do with partnerships and spouse and those who are your close intimates. And then there is the eighth house of transformation and change within yourself and the area of death. Ninth house is higher education and travel and expansion of your consciousness through religious and philosophical studies and so forth, metaphysical studies. 10th house is ambitions and high achievements and career. 11th house is to do with friends and group social activities, other people's children. And the 12th house is the house of hospitals and institutions where you can have solitude and get it all together, introspect and reflect upon what you've learnt from the other 11 houses. So it's all very complex, but it's all also down to earth where you're living and where you're experiencing your life. Now, these planets that I'm going to be working on for you in this reading are Saturn, and that takes 2.5 years in its movement through the zodiac. As it passes through the houses of your horoscope, it takes 2.5 years in one house. And Saturn is implementing the law of economy. In other words, Saturn is going to be saying to you that there must be a usage of energy, emotional, physical and mental energy, must be used wisely and economically. Any misuse of that energy must bring a corresponding adjustment to your consciousness and awareness of that misuse. And so Saturn embodies that third ray of commerce and industry and business, and also practicality and the law of economy and the wise use of energy. And so as it sits in an area of your horoscope, it's going to have a different impact than what it will with somebody with another sign, with a different sign than you. It's in a different house of their horoscope than it is with you. And so you're going to be experiencing that for 2.5 years. Errors that you've made in the usage of energy over the last 26 years are going to come home to roost. And you're going to be able to learn during that time about using energy wisely and economically and practically, and planning your things out practically and so forth. This includes mental energy and emotional energy as well. So I'll be looking at Saturn for you and telling you what the impact of that is shortly, and I'll tell you a little bit about yourself as well. And then there's Jupiter. Jupiter embodies the second ray of love wisdom, and it is a beautiful planet in desiring to expand and to expand your consciousness and awareness to become more of who you really are. And it does this through love, it does this through relationships, and it does this through study, research and investigation, and it does this through education, and it does this through higher thinking and learning about God and Goddess's plans for all of us. And so Jupiter takes 12 months as it moves through a particular house of your horoscope. So it sits in a house for 12 months. So I'm going to be able to tell you what is Jupiter, what is the impact of Jupiter during 2014, and what you are experiencing now prior to moving into 2014 in your life through the impact of Jupiter. So it's sitting in one of your houses of your horoscope now, and I'll tell you what the impact is now, and also 2014 it's in a different house than what it is now. So I'll be able to tell you all about that, and how you can expand and grow and reach and stretch to become more of the giant that you truly are. And then there's Mars. Mars brings energy and will and sexual energy quite often into the area of your life where it's sitting, and it can bring conflict and tension and stress and anxiety and so forth. And I'm going to be looking at the movement of Mars in the first 6 months of 2014. It's sitting stationary in one particular house of your horoscope and introducing a lot of stresses and tensions into that area of your life. And so therefore you've got to deal with that. So this is what I'm going to be working on in your personal horoscope, which I'm going to be looking at shortly. And it's nice to have you here to be able to talk with you and to share with you some of my understanding about these things. And I do this for you free of charge because I want to be of service. I've seen the impact and the benefit that thousands of people have had through going through my intensives or getting extracts out of my books and so forth, and having astrology readings done by me. And so I want to help you to also grow and reach and stretch to become more of who you really are. And so that's what we're going to be looking at in your horoscope for you now. What I'm going to do for you now, Leo, is I'm going to tell you a few things about yourself from your sun sign and also from the signs on the cusp of your other 11 houses. Now in your solar chart you've got the sun on the cusp of the first house, and this is a limited point of view because I don't have all the other factors that are in your horoscope personally, such as the planets in the houses and the aspects that those planets form with each other. That all comes with horoscope number 2. And horoscope number 3 is more on the predictive side of things for you specifically. So I'm working with a limited amount of information here to just describe to you about your personality and the way that you interact with the events and conditions of your life. So just sit back and relax now. Now, being a Leo, you're a very proud person. You're a fire sign, so you're a very, very active person. You've got a tremendous sense of self-consciousness. You've asked yourself many times, why am I so awake, aware and alive as to what's going on around me when everybody else seems to be half asleep? So you're tremendously self-aware, and you do love the social side of life, and you like to be the centre of attention in parties and social functions. So you're a very proud person, and you've got a tremendous amount of enthusiasm for your ideas in life and the ability to commence and start projects and ideas. Now, as far as money is concerned, Leo, you're very fastidious when it comes to the handling of money. You like to keep all the records there and everything for your taxation purposes, and you seem to be very much aware of detail when it comes to all financial transactions and matters. So you keep all receipts and records and things like that, and you're very meticulous about where you spend your money as well. Very fussy and particular about that. Now, as far as the communication with loved ones and relatives and so forth, you like to keep harmony and balance in your communication. And you're very outgoing in your affections with people, and you love music very much. You like going out and being among the general public. And you like communicating. You're a good speaker and you like communicating with the general public. And in restaurants and places of amusement, you're likely to strike up a conversation, and you're likely to walk across the road to a neighbour and strike up a conversation, and you like to have relationships with those that are close to you, relatives, neighbours, and so the social side of life comes into it there. You may have met your spouse through a neighbour or through a relative. Now, you like to live near the water, and you have a swimming pool in the backyard, perhaps, if you don't live near the water. Or you could have paintings or pictures of the water in the home, or a fish tank in the home. So the home environment is a place where you like to have the water around. And as far as the family is concerned, there's some degree of mystery surrounding family matters. And there's some sort of secrets that you might say to do with family matters somehow. Now, you do spend a lot of time in the home in a state of solitude, reflecting and thinking upon things within yourself and bringing about changes within yourself through going into your own room and just being by yourself, maybe listening to music or something like that with the headphones. Now, you do like to travel as far as the social side of life is concerned. You like sports and you do like to travel. And so you've probably travelled overseas or interstate a few times. And you do enjoy the sporting side of life, early in life, perhaps as a participant, and later in life as a spectator, perhaps. And you do like adventure thrown into your social life. Now, you're very, very practical when it comes to the job. You gravitate towards positions of responsibility and authority, and you seem to have a government job perhaps at some time in your life. Now, as far as your relationship with your spouse is concerned, or any partner in your life, you are attracted towards somebody who's very different from yourself and very futuristic in nature. And you may have met under very strange and unusual circumstances. The person could be of a different nationality, or a different religion, or a different social background, or whatever, and they have quite a few unusual interests in life too, that you don't perhaps engage in too much with them. They're a very unique person and very individual. Now, I'm going to look for you, Leo, at the movement of Saturn in your horoscope at the moment, and in the whole of 2013 and 2014. And you've got Saturn is in the 4th house of your horoscope during this whole time. It takes 2.5 years to go through a particular house of your horoscope, and with Saturn in the 4th house of your horoscope, Leo, there's potential for the death of somebody in the family. So it could be the death of a parent, it could be the death of a family member, perhaps an elderly family member. It doesn't have to be necessarily a close family member, but some family member is going to have a lingering illness in 2013 or 2014, or pass away. Now, there's going to be a sense of isolation and loneliness around the home to some degree for you in 2013 and 2014. So there'll be a lot of opportunity for solitude for you. Now, as far as family matters are concerned, it's not a good time for you for making any change in residence or change in circumstances domestically. So try and keep things stable. It's time to reflect upon the things that you've learned over the last few years to do with family matters and domestic matters, and the way that you've handled the family side of things and the domestic side of things. So it's not a good time for any change in residence. Indeed, if you did try to change residence, there would probably be obstructions and delays to your plans for any change in residence. It's not a good time for investments in property, land or mining, and it's a time when you can be very practical with regard to all domestic and family matters, and perhaps in these years we'll be working from home quite a lot and doing a lot of things in the home that is pertaining to your career or to your business. Now, as far as Jupiter is concerned, Jupiter is a major beneficial influence in our life wherever it sits, and it takes 12 months to move through a particular house of our horoscope. Now, Leo, you've got Jupiter in the 11th house of your horoscope during 2013. With Jupiter being in the 11th house during 2013, it's a very good time for you through friends and group social activities. So there's a lot of happiness through other people's children, any grandchildren or other people's children of friends and so forth. They will play a prominent part in your life during 2013, and you could travel overseas or interstate with a friend, or have a friend visit from overseas, or a friend could travel overseas by themselves. But anyway, there's a lot of interaction there with friends in 2013. It's going to be a very good time for you for all group activities, club activities, other people's children, and the formation of friendships. And it's a very, very happy time for you for all outings and things like that of a group nature. So a very good time for you in 2013 in these particular areas. Now 2014, Leo, sees Jupiter in the 12th house of your horoscope. Now with Jupiter in the 12th house of your horoscope, it's a very good time to gain from solitude. So in 2014, you're going to be desiring to have time to yourself, to study, research and investigate. And it's also going to be a very favourable time for you to do with the spiritual side of life. You'll be wanting to expand your understanding in 2014 through metaphysics and spirituality, and you'll be wanting to become more of who you really are deep inside yourself in terms of your character. So you'll be wanting to make a lot of changes within yourself through introspection and reflection and solitude, and also spiritual growth and development. Now it's a very good time for you, 2014, should you need to go into hospital for any sort of operation or anything like that. It's very, very favourable for you. There will perhaps be an opportunity to get involved in some sort of secret relationship during that time, and even that can go beneficially for you and in the end result have gains for you somehow. Now as far as Mars is concerned, Mars, Leo, is in the 3rd house of your horoscope for the first 6 months of 2014. Now it normally only takes 6 weeks to transit through a particular house of our horoscope, but you've got Mars stationary for the first 6 months of 2014 in the 3rd house of your horoscope. Now what that's going to mean is that you are going to have a lot of stress and tension in the first 6 months of 2014 in terms of dealings with relatives, potential for accidents on the road. So don't drive too fast, and don't drive when you're in a state of anxiety somehow, or allow yourself to be distracted by stresses and tensions. There can be a lot of problems in the area of communication with relatives and neighbours during that time, so you can be impulsive in speech with Mars in the 3rd house, and there's potential for lung and bronchial trouble, and there can be a tendency to argue and fight with those that are close to you, like relatives and neighbours and so forth. So just be very careful with speech during this time. Don't be impulsive with signing contracts or agreements, and you should be able to get through that with a minimum of difficulty. And that about sees you out, Leo, for this immediate now and the immediate future. Now, I can do a lot more for you, Leo, by doing your horoscope number 2. Many times I'm happy to do that for you free of charge. It's normally $20. And if you're keen to learn, I'm happy to help you to become more of who you really are. And also to have horoscope number 3 done. Well, that takes a lot of my time because I'm doing progressions and it's specific predictions about you and your circumstances in life, and I do that on a live recording, and that's given to you to download and listen to and so forth with beautiful backing music. So there's a lot of work involved in that, and that does cost money. So it's nice to have this time, Leo, and there's a few things now that I want to go on with where to go from here. Well, now that I've gone through all of that area of your houses where the planets have been sitting and everything, where to go from here? Just a little bit of an epilogue here to help you to understand how you can go on with the job now that you've been exposed to this type of understanding and expanded your understanding a little bit further. I want to help you to become more of who you really are and to take full advantage of the science of astrology and the science of meditation. Meditation is a wonderful science, and by practicing meditation you can keep yourself youthful, and you can program to all the events of your life to occur more in accordance and compliance with your will, your conscious choice, more so than your subconscious will or your subconscious choice. And these events happen in your life most of the time by subconscious choices according to your attitudes and beliefs and your thoughts and your feelings and your decisions and your choices. They're your raw materials, and you bring those raw materials into events and conditions in your life through your desire, your imagination and your expectation. Well, I want to help you to clean out those emotions and to clarify your thinking so that your beliefs and your attitudes are not your enemies and not creating negativities in your life. So therefore, I'm going to be sending you some printed pages of my out of my book, What Really Matters, which covers the science of meditation and reincarnation and astrology, and in simple terms that you'll be able to relate to. And you can read them if you wish, and you can then also become more of who you really are by getting the audio version of my book and listening to that and over and over again, getting that sort of knowledge and understanding into yourself. And I'm happy to do a lot of work for you also by doing your horoscope number 2. If you're keen to learn, I'm happy to do your horoscope number 2, which is normally $20. I'm happy to do that for you free of charge. So I'm happy to help you and encourage you to expand your consciousness. My material will lead you into deeper understanding about yourself and about how you can become more of who you really are and how you can create your reality more in accordance and compliance with your conscious choice and your conscious will, and become more financially independent, more successful in your work, happier in relationships, and so on and so forth. So I thank you for your attentiveness here, and I look forward to working further with you should you desire to go on into my teachings and become more of the giant that you truly are. God and Goddess love you and know your name, and they want you to become more of who you really are. Thank you.